Hey everyone, welcome back to Blackfinger Garage. I am your host Sean, and in today's episode I have a few things I wanted to do. First, I want to kind of go over where I'm at in my projects, especially this Geo Cart that you're sitting on right now. As far as over here, I have my Fairlane. This is a 63 Ford Fairlane that I'm not, no, I don't want to give it the wasteland treatment. I talk about that all the time. This thing, it was my great-grandparents' car, and I rebuilt the engine in '99. Well, I didn't rebuild the entire thing. I didn't do the internals. I pretty much did the new gasket treatment because it was sitting for so long. This thing has 40,000 miles on it. I can't give it the wasteland treatment. I can't do it. I think, though, actually, it kind of already has the wasteland treatment. My great-grandmother drove this until she died in '97. No, she died in '93, and they poured some kind of chemical on it. I don't know what's going on with that, but it killed the paint. You see the bumpers all dented up. The sides have some pretty gnarly little dents in them. So this is one of those things, and it's a 4-door. So people are like, it's worth nothing. It's a 4-door. So I'm probably going to just keep this as it is, drive it daily. So what I am going to do with it, though, is I'm going to take that old generator off right there. I'm going to put an alternator on, because this thing does not charge the battery. I'll drive to the store and it'll just die. It'll be dead. You know, God forbid I drive at night and have the lights on. I'm going to do probably front disc brakes. You can get the late 70s Granadas, Ford Granadas, have the exact same spindles and everything. Just do something to get some disc brakes in the front, because right now it has 4-wheel drum brakes. And this thing weighs a lot, so it's fun. It's fun trying to stop. Also, it doesn't have power steering or power brakes. This was a stripped down, cheapo version that my great-grandparents bought for their retirement in 1963. And it's fun to drive. A giant steering wheel is needed when you're trying to turn a corner with no power steering. Oh yeah, you can see it. There's the wasteland treatment right there on that seat. But I'm going to keep this as my little driver. I really like this car. It has a small V8 in it too. It's a 221. So it's not a huge gas hog. You know, it's just something that I can drive around. This Geo right here, it's a Geo Metro 93, and it's been a good car. You know, it's been one of those things that we took to commute back and forth. My wife works about an hour away, and she used it for a while to get about 45 miles per gallon, which was amazing, and that's why we got it. It's a $300 car, but it's lived its life. It started smoking again. I rebuilt the engine last year, but it started smoking again, which means my little drill honing job on the cylinders didn't exactly seal the piston rings, you know, like stock, which is weird, right? I mean, you'd think it'd work, but so I did a real cheap rebuild last year, and I didn't even use stainless valves, which you have to use stainless valves. So what happened is the oil got past the rings because I didn't measure any sizes. I literally bought stock rings and stock pistons, honed it out, and this was actually a frozen up engine. It was rusted shut. So I honed it out really good, and I put new rings, pistons, and then I rebuilt the head. I put new valves in, but I just put regular steel valves. I didn't put stainless steel valves. So the oil got past the rings and it burned. It kind of accumulates on the valves, burns out the valves, makes a hole in the valve, and then oil gets through and it burns out the tailpipe. And that's what happened to this thing. These Geos are notorious for this anyway. They have a really bad oil system, recirculation system. And you'll find a lot of times actually that the oil will come up through the PCV system, and they call it Geo fart, which is, that's how common it is in these little cars, is that the oil will actually go back up through the PCV system. So long story short, I'm giving you the history of the Geo Metro, but long story short, this thing has repeated the same problem, mostly because of me, but also because of it's kind of a design flaw of these cars. Little 3-cylinder, it's a 5-speed. I do love this car, but here's my point. I do have a point. My point is, I'm not going to really do too much more to this. I'm not going to make this a street legal daily driver anymore. This thing is going to be the Gio Cart, and that's kind of a temporary name right now, playing off of go-kart. Geo Cart. So I'm going to cut it down as much as I can. I'm going to reduce weight, going to make it mostly a tube frame if I can. I'm going to see what would be best for that, because these things are unibody. You know, they don't have a frame, they don't have a body on frame. So if I start cutting this roof off and everything, this thing is going to fold like this. You know, it's not going to really, it doesn't have any good structure to it. This is really cheap metal on these things. And so I'll have to build some kind of frame and take as much weight off as possible. It's front wheel drive, it's light as heck, and this thing will go through mud like crazy. Another added bonus is the 12-inch rims are the same lug pattern for a lot of ATVs and UTVs. Now I'm probably just gonna keep the stock rims because I like the way they look. They look really, you know, stock, and they're just steel wheels. But I'll get some of the 12-inch mud tires that you find on ATVs and UTVs. And I'll just throw those on here. So I'll have mud tires, I'll have front wheel drive, I'll have the light stick shift, 3-cylinder. It'll be fun. I know I was originally going to do this with my white Geo. This one here is red. I was originally going to do it with my white Geo, but it has some rust issues, as I'll show you here on the screen. There's a very important part of the Geo Metro called the frame horn, which I don't even know if that's the right term, but that's what they call it. It's the frame horn. And if that's rusted, it actually is really bad for the entire structure of the vehicle. This white one I got from a friend for $100. I couldn't pass it up because of the parts. I mean, I've already made my money back just selling the, you know, I sold the tail lights and I sold a couple things off of it, and I made way over $100. So I was just gonna, you know, throw it around as a little cart because I figured that would be fun. Basically a free car. Well, the frame was rusted so bad, the floorboards were rusted so bad. And down here in Alabama, you know, we don't mess with rust. I mean, if there's any rust at all, it's not good. This was a Michigan car. So in Michigan, this thing would have been considered rust-free because it didn't have giant holes in the side of the door. I used to live in Indiana, so I know. I'm not knocking on you Michigan guys. I know how it is. But down here, it was a rust bucket. I'd never be able to sell that thing, never be able to get rid of it. So earlier today, which I'm going to show you some footage from that, I took it to the scrapyard. And I had a bunch of other scrap from when I tore down my building out there. I think I had that in a video once. It's funny because I took all that stuff with my truck, and I live right by a scrapyard, a metal recycling yard, they call it. It's maybe 3 miles down the road. It's super close. I love that because I go there all the time shopping. This time I didn't really go shopping because it's a small place and I had a trailer and I didn't want to kind of block up traffic. But so I'm going to go back at another time and I'll make a whole episode about shopping at the scrapyard. And you can see kind of what I look for and all that. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, so I took this load. It was 2,000 pounds exactly, on the dot, 2,000 pounds. So around here, it's 5 cents a pound. I don't know how that compares with the rest of the country. I'm sure it's pretty low, but it's 3 miles down the road, so I'm not gonna argue with that. So I made $100 off of my load of scrap. I figure half of that was the Geo, so maybe I made $50 off of the shell. That's after I stripped everything off, so I really made out on that car. But it's a hunk of junk. It's a hunk of rust. So that's why this thing right here is going to be my cart. And it's not only just going to be a cart, it's going to be a post-apocalyptic cart. I want to make it, you know, a buggy. I want to make it, think like, you know, the polecat buggies. Or in Beyond Thunderdome, they had the buggies in there. That's the kind of thing I want to do. I want to make just like a little buggy out of this thing. You know, like I talked in an earlier video about thinking up a storyline for your vehicle before you start building it. And you don't have to write a novel, but my storyline for this is basically it's a reconnaissance vehicle that can make it through semi-hilly area to go around some areas and kind of hide and do some surveillance. And so I'm going to have lots of lights on it. I'm going to tear out all the original lights because I hate the square lights that this thing has. And I'm going to put up some mismatched round lights here and there, some older lights. I'll probably retrofit, which I love doing, retrofitting old lights with LED inside. I'll do that. I'll put some antennas all over this thing because it's going to be a long-range communication vehicle for scouting. It's not going to have a lot of armor or weapons. You know, it's not going to have septic tank's gun up on top. It's not going to have big plate steel all over it. You know, it's going to be something that gets in and gets out and doesn't have to worry about really being in the heart of battle. That's my idea for it anyway. So we'll see if that works. But I still want to give it that septic tank treatment. You know, I still want to keep it, just strip it all down, take the skins off of the panels and kind of let the interior of the skin show through. I love the way that turned out on septic tank. I'm also going to do some wrap with some cloth wrap around some of the bars and everything in the frame, kind of give it more of a primitive look. Maybe some bones on it here and there. I like the kind of mixture of primitive and post-apocalyptic, so that's going to be in there. What else? The original red paint is going to show through. I did that with septic tank with the blue paint. On the fender, I burned up the fender. I took it off, threw it in a fire, and I burned it up. But I wanted to keep some of that blue paint on there so it shined through, because not everything in the apocalypse is black. Not everything in the apocalypse is 100% rusted. You might still have that original stuff coming through. So I want to do that with this. So this maroon paint on this thing is going to come through in spots, and the rest of it is going to be gone or burnt up, you know, charred, even some black. No glass. All the plastic is coming off. That is definitely, it's not going to be a road-worthy or road-legal vehicle. This is going to be something that is strictly off-road, strictly for events. The big thing for it I want to do is get it ready for Aftermath. And Aftermath is November 11th of this year, so I have a couple months, 10 months, right? Should be no problem. Get this ready for Aftermath and just kind of drive around in the mud out there and just have a lot of fun, you know, with this thing. But I'm going to make a series of videos on tearing this thing apart and turning it into a little wasteland buggy / cart. So stay tuned for that. I will definitely show more of that. I haven't even really begun to do what I plan to do with this thing yet. So keep that in mind and check out the rest of the video. All right, so let's be honest. This right here looks pretty badass. And you know, I was gonna take this whole bumper part off, the metal part. I just took the plastic cover off, but I really like the way that looks. And with the holes there, it'll give me an opportunity to mount some stuff on there pretty easily. So I'm gonna keep that there and just kind of cover it up with things here and there. Of course, those square headlights are gonna go. And I got that fender off there. I really like the way that looks. And you know what? I was saying before, I don't think I'll take the doors off. I think I will, just and you know, maybe put some you know, the septic tank treatment where I'll make doors and I'll kind of do a cage with that bar that goes, you know, the bars that go inside and then a bar that goes straight down like that, like at an angle, as they do on race cars and things like that. This is looking good. I really like the way this is starting to look. It's taking some size off of it, which I like. You know, this kind of stuck out a little bit. I threw that up there. And hopefully when I take more, especially off the back, I plan to, when I take this plastic cover off the back, this plastic bumper cover, that'll remove some size too. And I'm going to remove like this hatch, and then I'll probably maybe relocate the gas tank. The gas tank though is about right there, so it's not really a big deal. But I may cut even more of this off just to make it even smaller. And one of the reasons I want to do that is kind of a funny aesthetic reason, because this won't fit with septic tank on my 20-foot trailer. I would love for septic tank and this to fit on the same trailer. We'll see. It's kind of a stretch, literally, because septic tank is about, I think, 12 feet. So this is certainly not an 8-foot car. It's a little bit bigger than that. So we'll see what I can do, how close I can get it to fitting on that trailer. But that's kind of a pipe dream. For now, you know, the main focus will be getting this thing looking like it was pulled out of a junkyard, which isn't hard with a Geo, and getting it to look like a little reconnaissance cart or buggy or something like that. So I think I'm going to cut it short today. I have some other stuff to do, but hey, we got this front off. I think it is already looking better once we get those tires on and all the glass out and all the plastic, the rest of the plastic off, the doors. I think it'll look a lot better, and we'll go from there. So until next time, be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know how you like this project, what you think about it. so far and what you'd like to see done with this. Something that maybe I haven't thought of yet. So let me know in the comments. Thanks.